The world is filled with many individuals who, at their core, are driven by a fierce desire for recognition, for importance, for adulation. These individuals, who are often perceived as egotistical, self-centered, and even destructive, are the ones who rule over others through manipulation, deception, and an insatiable hunger for validation. But let me tell you this, there is a power, a force, an influence that can unravel their whole existence, something that is more potent than the most elaborate schemes they concoct. That force is empathy. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about this. What does it mean to be truly empathetic? Empathy is not just the ability to understand another person's feelings. It is the capacity to feel those emotions deeply, to experience them as if they were your own. Empathy can be a divine gift, a powerful force that moves in ways that we often cannot comprehend. It is something that touches the deepest parts of our soul, challenging us, transforming us, leading us toward a path that is selfless and pure. But let us be clear, empathy in the hands of the unholy, empathy in the hands of those who have seen the deepest depths of depravity, empathy in the hands of those who are equipped with wisdom and discernment can be a double-edged sword. It can be used not to uplift, but to expose. It can be wielded not to heal, but to torture. When a soul is truly in tune with the pain and suffering of another, it can become a weapon of exposure. It can pierce through the facade of self-importance, through the thick armor of narcissism, and bring forth a reckoning so great that the narcissist is left standing in sheer terror. It is a terrible thing to witness. The narcissist, so accustomed to reigning supreme, so used to the adoration and devotion of others, is confronted with a force that does not bow, does not flatter, does not worship. This is not the admiration that they crave, the loyalty they expect, or the praise they demand. This is something far greater, something far more terrifying. You see, the narcissist thrives on control. They need it. It is their lifeblood. They manipulate, they deceive, they use their charm and wit to twist and contort the truth to suit their needs. They draw people into their orbit and demand that others revolve around them, submitting to their every whim and desire. The world, in their eyes, is a stage, and they are the star, the center of attention. They will go to any lengths to maintain their image, to protect their fragile ego, because deep down they know that without it, they are nothing. And then enters the empath. The empath, unlike the narcissist, is not focused on themselves. Their gaze is outward. They are not driven by the need for admiration or recognition, but by an overwhelming desire to alleviate the pain of others. The empath can sense the unseen wounds, the hidden hurts, the suffering that others may never vocalize. They are aware of the needs of others, even before those others know what they need. And this awareness, this ability to feel, to understand, to bear the burdens of others, becomes a tool of unimaginable power when placed in the right hands. But make no mistake, the empath is not passive. The empath is not a mere observer standing on the sidelines watching the world go by. No, the empath is engaged. They feel, they understand, they act. And when they encounter the narcissist, they are not fooled by the smoke and mirrors. They see through the narcissist's fragile ego, and they understand the deep well of insecurity that fuels their action. Now, let's talk about the torture. This is not the kind of torture that involves physical pain or outward displays of aggression. No, this is a much subtler, more insidious form of suffering. The narcissist, who thrives on being the center of attention, is confronted with the quiet, persistent indifference of the empaths. The narcissist wants praise, wants validation, wants to be seen as great, but the empath, with their deep understanding of the human condition, does not feed into the narcissist's insatiable need for adoration. They do not fawn. They do not cater to the narcissist's every whim. They see the narcissist's vulnerability, something the narcissist hides even from themselves. And the empath holds up a mirror that the narcissist cannot ignore. It is in this mirror that the narcissist begins to see themselves for what they truly are: fragile, insecure, desperate. And this is where the torture begins. The narcissist, who has spent so long building up a facade of invincibility, begins to question everything. They can no longer rely on their usual tricks, on their charm, on their manipulation, on their ability to control others. The empath does not succumb to their pressure, does not bow to their demands, and worse still, the empath does not engage in the narcissist's games. They simply refuse to be manipulated. They do not play the game. This is the heart of the torture. The narcissist, who has built their entire life around controlling others, finds that they cannot control the empath. And in their helplessness, in their frustration, they begin to unravel. The narcissist's entire sense of self-worth, their entire identity, is tied to their ability to dominate, to manipulate, to deceive. But now, when faced with someone who will not play along, someone who will not be deceived, they begin to crack. Their whole existence is called into question. Who are they if they cannot control the people around them? Who are they if they cannot manipulate and dominate? The very foundation of their being begins to shake, and it is a terrifying thing for them to face. But the empath is not seeking vengeance. The empath is not out to destroy the narcissist. No, the empath's goal is not to cause harm, but to expose the truth. The truth is a powerful force. It is a cleansing fire. And when the narcissist is confronted with the truth of their own insecurity, their own brokenness, their own emptiness, it is as though the walls they have so carefully constructed around themselves begin to crumble. And in this crumbling, in this slow destruction of the false self they have built, the narcissist begins to feel the weight of their own torment. They cannot escape it. They cannot run from it. It is there every moment of every day. They can no longer hide behind their mask, behind their charming smile, behind their well-crafted persona. The empath, with their quiet wisdom, their deep understanding, has stripped away the layers of deception, exposing the raw, vulnerable heart of the narcissist. And this is where the real pain begins. For the narcissist, the worst thing that can happen is to be seen for who they truly are. To be seen not as a king, not as a leader, not as a person of great importance, but as a broken, insecure individual who is desperately trying to fill a void that can never be filled. This is the torture. The narcissist is left with the painful realization that their entire existence has been built on a lie. They are not who they thought they were. They are not the powerful, invincible figure they believe themselves to be. They are in fact weak, fragile, and dependent on the very validation they so desperately seek from others. And the empath, in their quiet way, watches as this unraveling takes place. They do not need to do anything dramatic. They do not need to call attention to the narcissist's flaws or shortcomings. They simply allow the truth to unfold. And as the narcissist faces the truth, as the narcissist comes to terms with the reality of their own emptiness, they are left to wrestle with the deep pain of their own self-awareness. It is a slow process, a painful process, but it is also a necessary one, because in the end, the only thing that can truly heal the narcissist is the truth. And the empath, with their deep connection to the human heart, is the one who can bring that truth to light. It is not an easy path. It is not a comfortable path. But it is the only path that leads to real healing, to real transformation. So what does it mean for the narcissist to face the empath? It means that the narcissist is confronted with a power far greater than their own, far greater than their need for validation, far greater than their manipulation, far greater than their attempts to control the world around them. It is a power that exposes the truth, that reveals the brokenness beneath the surface, and in doing so, it forces the narcissist to reckon with themselves. And this, my friends, is the most profound torture of all. The torture that comes not from external forces, but from the internal realization that they are not who they thought they were. They are not the kings, the rulers, the omnipotent beings they believe themselves to be. No, they are fragile. They are vulnerable. They are in need of healing just like everyone else. The narcissist may resist, may fight, may refuse to acknowledge the truth, but in the end, the truth will have its way. And that, my friends, is the greatest torture of all. The speech emphasizes that an empath's deep understanding and ability to connect with others' emotions becomes a powerful force in confronting narcissism. Instead of feeding the narcissist's insatiable need for praise and control, the empath's indifference and refusal to be manipulated exposes the narcissist's underlying fragility and insecurity, which they desperately try to hide behind their facade of self-importance. The speech highlights that the greatest suffering a narcissist can experience is not external punishment, but the internal realization of their own emptiness and brokenness. The empath does not seek to destroy the narcissist, but reveals the painful truth of their self-deception, causing the narcissist to confront their vulnerability, ultimately leading them to face the torment of their own flawed identity. Empathy is a force that cannot be underestimated, for it is not simply the ability to understand the feelings of another. It goes far deeper than that. It is the capacity to feel, to experience, and to connect with another human being in such a way that you can see beyond their outward appearance, beyond their words, and into the very core of their being. It is a divine gift, one that allows a person to know the pain, the fear, and the loneliness that others endure. But what makes empathy so powerful, what makes it a weapon of unparalleled force, is its ability to expose what is hidden beneath the surface, the insecurities, the doubts, the fears, and the vulnerabilities that people work so hard to conceal. In a world where many wear masks, where people go to great lengths to project an image of strength, of success, of perfection, empathy sees through it all. It does not see the mask, it sees the person. It does not judge by what is presented outwardly, but seeks to understand the internal world, the emotional turmoil, and the brokenness that each person carries within them. And this, in turn, gives the empath a unique power. It is a power that can pierce the defenses of even the most guarded individual, for the empath is not swayed by the lies and the pretenses. Instead, they see through the layers of deception, and in doing so, they expose the raw and fragile humanity that lies underneath. It is this power of empathy that becomes a weapon when wielded against the narcissist. The narcissist, by their very nature, is driven by a deep-seated need for admiration, for validation, for adoration. They crave attention and praise because it feeds their fragile ego. Beneath their grandiose claims of superiority, their arrogance, and their need to control others lies a vast emptiness, a void that they cannot fill. It is this emptiness, this deep insecurity, that the narcissist works so hard to hide. They build walls around themselves, create a persona that is larger than life, and manipulate those around them to maintain the illusion of greatness. They do not want the world to see their vulnerabilities because in their eyes, to be vulnerable is to expose the very thing they fear the most, their inadequacy. But the empath, with their extraordinary ability to connect on a deeper level, cannot be fooled. They are not deceived by the narcissist's surface-level charm, nor are they captivated by their boastful claims of success. The empath sees through it all, and in doing so, they expose the insecurity that the narcissist so desperately seeks to hide. The narcissist may put on a show, they may control the narrative, and they may demand admiration. But the empath knows the truth. The empath feels the pain beneath the arrogance, the loneliness beneath the self-importance, the fear beneath the need for control. And this understanding becomes a mirror to the narcissist, a mirror that they cannot ignore. It is in this mirror that the narcissist begins to see themselves for what they truly are. No longer can they hide behind their carefully constructed facade. No longer can they manipulate others into seeing them as powerful, invincible, or perfect. The empath's presence, their unwavering understanding, brings to light the raw, unpolished truth of the narcissist's internal world. And this truth is a painful one to confront. For the narcissist, who has spent their entire life creating an image of strength and superiority, is now forced to face the weakness they have spent so long trying to bury. The narcissist may try to fight it, may try to deflect or escape the discomfort of self-awareness. But the empath's gaze does not waver. The truth, once revealed, is difficult to deny. The narcissist, who thrives on control and manipulation, becomes increasingly vulnerable in the presence of the empath. They may lash out, they may try to belittle the empath, or they may even attempt to discard them entirely, but none of this can erase the truth that the empath has unveiled. The narcissist may try to maintain their sense of superiority, but it is now an illusion. The empath has exposed the fragility beneath the surface, and the narcissist cannot escape it. The more the empath refuses to feed into the narcissist's demands for attention and validation, the more the narcissist begins to unravel. The very foundation of their self-worth is built on the approval and admiration of others, and when this foundation is shaken, the narcissist's world begins to crumble. The narcissist may try to assert dominance, they may try to manipulate the empath back into submission, but this only serves to reveal their own desperation. Their need for control becomes more apparent, and with each attempt to manipulate or dominate, their insecurity becomes more glaring. The empath, who sees beyond the narcissist's attempts at control, becomes a constant reminder of the truth that the narcissist cannot escape. The more the narcissist tries to force the empath into their mold, the more they expose their own inner turmoil, their own fear of being seen for what they truly are. This is the power of empathy. It does not rely on force, on aggression, or on manipulation. It is not about playing games or engaging in a battle of wills. The empath does not need to assert their superiority, for they already know the truth. They do not need to shout or demand attention, for the truth is self-evident. The empath's strength lies in their ability to see the narcissist for who they truly are, and to refuse to play along with the narcissist's lies. The empath does not engage in the narcissist's drama, does not seek to be validated by their praise or approval. Instead, they stand firm in their understanding, knowing that the truth will eventually come to light. And this is where the narcissist begins to feel the pain, the slow, gnawing discomfort that comes from being exposed. The narcissist cannot tolerate being seen as anything less than perfect. And yet, in the presence of the empath, they are forced to confront their own brokenness. The narcissist may try to shift the blame, may try to deflect the attention, but the empath remains unwavering. They do not participate in the narcissist's games, and in doing so, they reveal the narcissist's greatest fear, that they are not as invincible as they pretend to be, that beneath the facade, they are just as vulnerable, just as human as anyone else. This revelation is not something that the narcissist can easily accept. It is a truth that shakes them to their very core. For the narcissist, their identity is built on a lie. They have convinced themselves that they are above others, that they are deserving of admiration and respect. When the empath refuses to feed into their delusions, when the empath holds up a mirror and shows them the reality of their own fragility, the narcissist's world begins to crumble. Their need for validation becomes more desperate, more frantic, as they struggle to maintain the image of perfection they have spent so long cultivating. And yet, no matter how much the narcissist fights against it, the truth remains. They cannot escape the fact that their sense of self-worth is built on shaky ground. The more they try to assert their superiority, the more they reveal their own insecurities. The more they try to control others, the more they expose their own fear of being controlled. And in this process, the narcissist begins to realize that they are not the powerful, invincible figure they thought themselves to be. They are fragile, vulnerable, and deeply insecure, a truth that they can no longer ignore. The power of empathy is not about overpowering the narcissist or seeking revenge. It is about revealing the truth. The empath does not need to do anything dramatic or forceful to expose the narcissist's insecurity. All they need to do is remain true to themselves, remain steadfast in their understanding, and refuse to be manipulated. In doing so, they become a mirror to the narcissist, a mirror that reflects not the image the narcissist wishes to project, but the truth of who they really are. And this truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. It is a pain that the narcissist must confront, whether they are ready for it or not. The empath does not need to attack, to criticize, or to belittle. Their mere presence, their unwavering refusal to feed into the narcissist's need for validation, exposes the fragile reality that the narcissist has worked so hard to hide. This is the power of empathy. It does not seek to destroy, but to reveal. It does not seek to humiliate, but to expose the truth. And in doing so, it creates a space where the narcissist is forced to reckon with their own insecurities, their own brokenness, and the painful truth of who they truly are. The internal world of a narcissist is a fragile construction, a delicate house of cards built on self-deception, fear, and an overwhelming desire for admiration. This house, carefully crafted over years, serves as the fortress that shields them from the very vulnerability they so desperately try to avoid. At its core, the narcissist is not the powerful, unshakable figure they appear to be. They are deeply insecure, constantly battling a sense of inadequacy that lurks just beneath the surface. And this insecurity, this gnawing feeling of emptiness, is the very thing that drives them to seek control, validation, and dominance over others. The narcissist needs the world to view them in a certain way, to elevate them to a place of grandeur, because this is the only way they can stave off the crippling fear of being exposed for who they truly are. Yet in the presence of someone who is unaffected by their charm, their manipulation, and their tactics, someone who sees through the facade, the narcissist's internal world begins to unravel. The empath, in their profound ability to connect on a deeper emotional level, holds up a mirror that the narcissist cannot avoid. And in this mirror, they begin to see themselves for what they truly are: flawed, fragile, insecure, and deeply dependent on others' approval. The narcissist, who has spent their life building a persona of invulnerability, is suddenly confronted with the raw truth of their own vulnerability. This confrontation with truth is a form of torture that the narcissist can neither escape nor dismiss. The mirror held up by the empath does not lie. It shows them the ugly truth that they have worked so hard to avoid, the truth they have buried beneath layers of defense mechanisms, arrogance, and manipulation. And this truth, this painful reality, begins to seep into the very fabric of their being, disrupting the fragile identity they have carefully constructed. The pain of this exposure is not something that can be easily processed. It is not something the narcissist can brush aside or simply deny. No, this is the kind of pain that goes straight to the core. The kind of pain that makes the narcissist question everything they have believed about themselves. The narcissist, who has spent years convincing themselves that they are above others, that they are worthy of admiration and reverence, is now confronted with the reality that they are in fact fragile, vulnerable, and deeply insecure. And this is where the internal torture begins.